Hello everyone, Darcenova here. This is my review of the first of the trilogy. This one's going to be released in November. Rurouni Kenshin, Origins. That's what the American title's called. This is an import from China. This is on a bootleg. This is official Blu-ray. I didn't think we'd ever get these, so I imported this one along with the other two movies. The reason I'm doing this review because the movie's going to come out not too long, the entire trilogy, and I feel like this deserves to be talked about. I know a lot of manga readers are going to get offended by saying this, but this is one of the best comic book movies ever made, in my opinion. And manga and comics, I put them in the same category. I feel like this adapted the story well. I know a lot of anime only fans may not like what I'm saying, but I view this as a manga adaptation of a manga, not an anime. This is not an adaptation of the anime. So for you idiots out there, this is the adaptation of the manga. And I'm aware changes had to be made. They had to compress a lot of the content because the Tokyo arc had a lot of mini arcs, and most of them would not be able to hold a movie. And if you wanted to adapt the entire thing word from word, you'd be making like 15 Rurouni Kenshin movies, and there's no way they'd make that many. So they narrowed it down to one arc that would work the best as a movie, and that is my pronunciation of Japanese is terrible. The Tokita Kunryu arc. This basically is that movie is basically that arc with the Junin arc meshed in there. So how does it adapt that story? I think it does it really well. And in terms of how well it follows the manga and how good it is as an adaptation, the Rurouni Kenshin, origin does it well. The actors that they chose for the characters, I think, do the parts well. I actually believe they're that character. Let's see, what's the name of the actor that plays, Kenshin? Takaru, Takaru. I can't even pronounce his last name. I'm sorry, my pronouncing some Japanese names is awful. Takaru Senhol. I'm not Takaru Senhol. And the actor who plays Kenshin, I felt he was a great choice. To be honest, if you're a Kamen Rider fan, he plays the protagonist in Kamen Rider Den-O. And when I saw him, I actually bought him as the character. Some people may complain that he is not feminine enough, that you can't get the exact look of Kenshin in a live action movie. And I buy him as the character. And I know I don't want to sound like a misogynist, but it is nice to hear Kenshin with a male's voice in Japanese, because one thing I do not like about the anime, Kenshin Himura's Japanese voice actress doesn't fit him at all. I don't imagine her as the voice for Kenshin. And even though he isn't the voice for Kenshin, if I had a choice were to remake the Rurouni Kenshin anime, I would choose him as the voice for Kenshin, because I feel like that he is a better fit for the character. There's those who disagree with me on that, but to me, I don't see her as that character. And he does the part really well. And for the actress that plays Karu, Emile Takii, she does a really great job with that character too. I know some people have criticized that she isn't attractive enough to play the character of Karu. You're telling me that, Emil Takiri isn't cute? Have you not seen her? Have you not seen Karu and Emil Takiri? I think she looks like Karu. Not exactly, because again, certain designs for certain characters do not translate exactly in live action. The actor they chose for Solusuke was great. He was the right height, the right body build, and the actor they chose for for little he's given to do Yuko, I thought he was pretty good, or she. I don't even know. I know in the second film it's a girl that plays him, and every actor I felt like was a great choice, and one of my favorite characters, Seto Himi, I think Hamini, I believe. It's been a while since I've read the Rurouni Kenshin manga and watched the anime. He was a great addition. Even though his character would not appear into the Kyoto arc, I like that change because he was a really cool character, and I felt like we didn't get enough of him, and I feel like the live action films give us more of him. Some of these changes were from the manga, and that was to make it more realistic, which I don't object because Rurouni Kenshin, I always felt it would work well in a live action film, and I never thought it would happen because I thought Rurouni Kenshin wasn't popular enough. But apparently, this rejuvenated interest in the franchise, or at least the OVA did. And Rurouni Kenshin is one of my favorite mangas, if not my favorite manga of all time. And to find out that it was getting an adaptation, I was really skeptical at first because Rurouni Kenshin's my baby. Let's I'm gonna let that know. It's one of my favorite manga. It's my favorite manga ever. I love this series. I love the characters. I love the story, and I wanted to see it done justice. It isn't a perfect adaptation, but I could accept some of the changes they made. And it just was a phenomenal movie. And even if you are not a Rurouni Kenshin fan, and I would recommend you see this movie as well because this movie stands on its own. Same thing with what the entire trilogy does, but I'll talk about the other two movies in my review them. So as someone who is reading the manga right now, this did a good job of adapting the Tokuro Kunryu arc. Even though Sumire Osh isn't in this movie, which I find that odd that they have a character from the final arc Gine in this movie, but they don't have Ocean here. I can understand why, because they probably did not expect a sequel. So they just wanted to have a self-contained story, so there's no loose ends. And even learn how Kenshin got the scar in this movie, which you shouldn't even learn that until like the fourth or fifth movie. But I'm not going to talk about that. Now, would I recommend this movie if you're a fan of the anime of Rurouni Kenshin? To be honest, I think if you're a fan of the manga, you would appreciate it a lot more than if you're a fan of the anime. Because the thing I've noticed from people who watch the anime version of various of these movies, whether it's Death Note, a lot of them don't think as highly of these movies as those who have read the manga. At least I've observed. Because there are some things about the anime that I do have issues with, but I'm not going to get to that here. I'm talking about the movie. Okay, I even talked about the soundtrack. Unlike the anime, which the music is great, don't get me wrong. The music is in place in the era that it takes place in, and the kind of series that it is. When there's sad moments, the music's sad. When it's happy, it's happy. And when there's an intense action scene, you could get that, that like, holy shit, this some epic shit's happening. This movie has some of the best fight choreography, some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen put on film ever. That fight with Kenshin versus Gain, Kenshin versus Junin. Yeah, this movie, some of the best fight choreography you'll ever see. And it's just great. And unlike those certain OVAs, this has the heart of Rurouni Kenshin. It has the heart and soul. Even if it isn't the adaptation, the perfect one that I would want, I felt like the people, the director, and all the cast and crew, they did a phenomenal job. And in my opinion, this, along with Death Note, some of the best manga-based movies, period. I would rank this as one of the best comic book movies of all time because it follows the manga well. It may cut some stuff out, but to be honest, there's so much stuff in the manga that they had to condense it. This is especially apparent in Kyoto Inferno and Legends End, or whatever name that Funimation will give those movies. So anyway, what do I rank this movie? Rurouni Kenshin, 5 out of 5 stars. In my opinion, I think it's one of my favorite comic book movies. I don't care if all you manga purists out there are going to say, it's not a comic book. It is. You should be honored that one of the greatest comic book movies ever made gets the rating that it does. I would rank it as one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. This is Darcenovia, over and out. See you guys next time, and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.